Hey everyone, I hope you're all doing well today. In today's video, we are discussing reference angles and their corresponding values in quadrant 1 of the unit circle. If you aren't sure about the unit circle, then I suggest watching that video before this one. Let's get right to it. Let's start with the angle 30 degrees, which is in quadrant 1. Now, let's move into quadrant 2 to the angle 150 degrees. Notice the smaller angle between the terminal side is at 30 degrees. This angle is known as a reference angle, and it corresponds to the 30-degree angle in quadrant 1. The reference angle is the acute angle less than 90 degrees between the terminal side and the x-axis, and the reference angle is always positive. To find the reference angle in quadrant 2, we subtract the angle theta from 180 degrees. If we move to quadrant 3 to 210 degrees, we create another reference angle of 30 degrees. To find the reference angle in quadrant 3, we subtract 180 degrees from the angle theta. Finally, in quadrant 4, if we create the angle 330 degrees and subtract that from 360, then we create another reference angle of 30 degrees. Now, let's look at the values of cosine and sine of 30, 150, 210, and 330 degrees. The values are all the same, except the positive and negative signs. This is how we can use reference angles to help us determine the values of trig ratios in all quadrants. If we know the value in quadrant 1, or the reference angle, then we can easily find the values in other quadrants. Let's look at some examples and practice finding the reference angles, and then using them to find the values of the corresponding ratios in quadrant 1. In the first example, we want to find the relationship between the values and their corresponding angles in the first quadrant. Basically, we are finding the reference angle. We'll start with sine 110 degrees. First, let's put the angle on the coordinate plane, and we want to find x. Remember, to find the reference angle in quadrant 2, we subtract theta from 180 degrees. Here, we get x is equal to 70. Once we find the reference angle, we need to determine if the two values are equal. We know that sine is positive in quadrant 2 and in quadrant 1, so the signs are the same. If we put the values in a calculator, we get a value of positive 0.940. So sine 110 degrees is equal to sine 70 degrees. Next, let's look at cosine 210 degrees and put it on the coordinate plane. Again, we are finding x first, and we subtract 180 from theta to find the reference angle in quadrant 3. We get cosine of 30 degrees, and we need to see if they have the same signs. Well, cosine is negative in quadrant 2, but positive in quadrant 1. To make them equal, we just change the sign of cosine 30 degrees to make it negative. So we can say that cosine 210 degrees is equal to negative cosine 30 degrees. Now they have the same value of negative 0.866. You go ahead and try tangent 240 degrees. Pause the video if you need more time. We get the answer of tangent 240 is equal to tangent 60. Sometimes we may know the value of a trig ratio of a given reference angle. We can use this information to figure out the other angles and have the same value of ratios. Here, we want to find the possible angles that have the given values when our angle is between 0 degrees and 360 degrees. We'll start with tangent theta equals 0.7813. and use our calculator to find theta. Remember to use the shift key tangent, and that will give you tangent to the negative 1. Put in your value, and it will give you your angle. We get 38 degrees, and this will be our reference angle. The given value is positive, so we are looking for positive tangent values. These can be found in quadrant 1 and in quadrant 3. Let's put our reference angles in these two quadrants, and then find the values of theta. In quadrant 1, our reference angle is the angle we are looking for. In quadrant 3, we need to add the reference angle to 180 to find theta. We get the answer of theta equals 38, or 218 degrees. Next, we will find the angles that have the value of cosine theta equals negative 0.4694. Again, use your calculator to find the reference angle. Remember to find the positive value first, then we can use that angle to find the other values. We get the angle of 62 degrees, but our original value is negative. So we need to find the corresponding angles in quadrant 2 and 3 because that is where cosine is negative. Subtract our reference angle from 180 to find theta in quadrant 2, and add 62 to 180 to find it in quadrant 3. We get the answer of theta equals 118 or 242 degrees. You try sine theta equals negative 0.8387. Pause the video for more time. Hopefully you got theta equals 237 or 303 degrees. If not, go back and recheck your work. That's it for the reference angles and their corresponding values. Remember, I'll be uploading new videos at least twice per week, so be sure you like and subscribe to my channel so you don't miss out on future topics you might need help with. See you next time!